All right, so my project was over why people choose to illegally immigrate to the United States. Uh, there are a lot of reasons why, believe it or not. One of the reasons is Mexico is just kind of a bad place to live. Uh, there's massive drug wars all the time. Uh, you got a really bad government system. There's this one time a group of kids were going out on a field trip to go and like express something. I don't remember exactly what, but the government decided they didn't like it, so they were mowed down in the streets. And then it was a national tragedy, and everybody was super sad for a while. And then a bus full of school children went to go and mourn their deaths in a day of recognition and some such. And then the government didn't like it, so they mowed them down in the streets. So yeah, it's just kind of bad, but why is it bad? That's the question we plan on answering here today. Well, it like I said, it's got the whole terrorism and gang wars and drug violence going on. It has the unfortunately Mexico is one of the warmest climates in the world, and it can farm a whole lot of stuff down there because of how warm it is. Unfortunately for them, they have two of the largest drug importers in the world to their north and to their south. So, of course, the business is going to be booming there, where the government's kind of bad and there's a whole lot of not great people, who are willing to buy drugs, and lots of people, mind you, to the north and south who are willing to do it real cheap. And yeah, so that they got that going. They've also got there is no juries during their trials. It's just decided by a judge. So, of course, when the government finally does their job and arrests a drug dealer, they can just bribe the judge. And they give him money, right? And so the judge has the final say. Uh, of course, then they bribe the judge. Judge has money. He says not guilty. And then they go about their day, corruption and what have you. But then, of course, they can say, hey, this judge is corrupt. We should have him on trial for corruption charges. But then they pay off the judge who's prosecuting the person for the corruption charges, and then it kind of goes full circle. Uh, but how did it get this way? We can't really solve the problem without understanding how it came to be. That way we make sure it doesn't happen twice. Well, long time ago, the entirety of Mexico was controlled by I've got it somewhere here, the PRI. It was controlled Mexico from 1929 to 2000. These guys were massive freaking buttheads. They were really mean. They sold a lot of drugs. They did a whole lot of corruptions. They didn't really care about their citizens. They mostly just cared about who had more money. They were never really concerned with what was right. They were the guys who were doing a whole lot of the mowing down school children in buses with big old guns on trucks and what have you. Yeah, they were not nice at all. And so eventually the Mexicans went and kicked them out, and now the National Action Party rules now. But it's only been 18 years and they have no idea what they're doing. So of course the government's still really weak. It can't do a lot in the way of protecting itself from corruption, and because it can't do that, it can't really protect its citizens from it. Because of course, if the government's corrupt, well, then what are you gonna do? Uh, there's also frequent bribes on public authority, so they can just bribe the cops into not caring about local drug dealers going around selling all the kids. And they just give the cops some money. They brush it under the table, and then, or excuse me, sweep it under the carpet, I suppose, and then nobody says nothing. So that's one of the biggest reasons why people want to leave. They say 85% of people who came illegally said that they come because of the criminal groups controlling the towns. That's a lot of it. And then there's also 65% also claim that they were being extorted or attacked by these terrible, terrible gangs who are going out killing people, shooting people. Uh, all right, now my grit stuff, that way I can get those sweet points. Uh, I want to do this because I've never really talked about, the current Mexican economy and climate, why it's kind of a worse place to live. I mean, I'm sure the people there are really nice, but it's just kind of really bad. I'm not saying that the people who live there are bad, but Mexico is just kind of a bad place to live, you know? And I've never really talked about that. So I kind of wanted to see and, kind of look into it, despite, how Mexico and Canada and the US all kind of have the same population density. But Mexico should be better off because, of course, it's warmer down there. They have year round farming. Should be really nice. But it's not. I was reflective in asking myself why people were coming here illegally, and then I'd ask myself, okay, that sounds like garbage. Why would you say that? Over and over again. Uh, so I asked why the problems had come up, and it was because of even more problems. Uh, I have integrity because all this work is my own. I did all this research. I cited all my sources. It's pretty cool. Uh, I was tenacious in my goal as I was able to explain. Oh shoot, I haven't solved it yet. So the way we fix it is we give the people more rights because that's good. People need to have the right to freedom of expression. Of course. Oh shoot, my dog just poked his eye on the corner of my laptop. Oh my god. Oh no. Okay. Oh my, it was really in there. So the people need more rights because, of course, if they can't save themselves, then who else is gonna do it? They can't really do nothing. We need to limit the power of the government, but make sure it's still able to defend itself. That way the government can't just mow down hordes of children in the streets. But we also need to make sure that they can't get paid to go mow down hordes of children in the streets. And we need to do that by making sure that, well, they need an IRS, and they need to make sure that any money they get is reported to the IRS above a certain amount. Uh, their own version of the IRS, excuse me. That way, cop can't just get 50 grand for, looking the other way and nobody bats an eye, then the government knows and they can go and root out the corruption. Uh, there needs to be more credibility on the part of the government, of course. They need more, investigations into who they are, what they're doing. They need a legitimate reason and they need a definite process to determine a legitimate reason for going and doing something or building X thing. Uh, and They need to have a definite peaceful transition of power. The same political party's been in power for the past 18 years. At least we've tried to keep it, pretty split up. Of course, it gets kind of heated during the Thanksgiving, but it's worthy price to pay. They also need to crack down on the drug trade. They need to find a definite solution for the drug trade. Either they need to find a way to. Let me think about this real quick. They need to find a way to get rid of these people without causing more problems because, of course, if they throw them in jail, then they're going to get bailed out. So they need to find a way that they can't be broken out or have this cycle. Remember what I was talking about with the whole pay off the judge, then they have an investigation for why if the judge is corrupt, then that judge gets paid off. They need to have a jury. They need to decide who has to go to prison. The people need more of a say in who gets to go to prison. The people need to have more say in the government. Of course, people can vote, but they don't have a House or a Senate like we do. You know how here we have the Senate where the people decide who goes into the House, and then the people decide who's the president, and the president decides who goes into the Senate, and then the Senate and the House are 50-50. They don't have that. They don't have a House of Representatives. It's just the president, and then that is it. They need a House of Representatives. That way no one has too much power at any given time, and then even states are split up into little places that can kind of govern themselves, like how California and Texas are two completely different things and believe in completely different things, and so their governments are very different. They need a system like that. That way If you don't like it, you can leave, but no one's rights are infringed in the process. So, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I will see you in a bit.